The following recording is a replay of an interview I did for the Autumn of Healing Summit in October 2024, which was host to over 100 experts in healing from around the world. This summit was organized by Matthias and Doris Badner, and I had the privilege of being involved in their 2023 summit as well, called the Network to Heal Summit. I highly recommend you subscribe to their newsletter at matthiasbadner.de so you can be notified of any future summits. Matthias and Doris' summits are world-renowned, and every year you'll find the world's forerunners in health and healing speaking at their events, such as Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt. So be sure to subscribe at www.matthiasbadner.de to be notified of any future events. That's MATHIASBERNER.de. Enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to the Autumn of Healing Summit. Today, I have such a huge privilege to introduce you to the lovely Ambika Wauters. Welcome, Ambika.
Hello, Jenny. Thank you so much for having me on your program.
It's so lovely to have you on. So I've had the hugest privilege of connecting with you through the Homeopathy Hangout podcast. And when Matthias and Doris asked me to find some speakers for the Autumn of Healing Summit, which his summits are just growing and growing, and it's become so popular worldwide. He's done several, and we had the Summit to Heal last year. And this year, it's all about transforming pain into vitality. And I just knew that you are somebody we have to get on this summit because there's so much pain around the world in various forms, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. And any tools that we can have to transform that into something useful and beautiful is going to benefit the world.
I agree.
So, can you maybe tell us just like a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just go into how you work with pain in your clinic?
Sure. My original training was in art. I was at the Royal College of Art in London. And a book by Carl Jung came into my hands about the collective unconscious. I went to the Jung Institute for a term for 3 months in Switzerland and was really bitten by the archetypes, the concept of archetypes. I met people who were in their 80s and 90s who were giving 2-hour lectures without notes, who really understood the nature of the archetype of wisdom, the archetype of empowerment. They were amazing people. And then I went to an extraordinary center in the south of Spain for a couple of years to do group healing work. And it was a profound experience. It transformed my life. It transformed my whole energy field. And I was gifted with the gift of healing. Didn't know much about what to do with it, but it was transformative. And I kept studying. Eventually, I went to America and studied with Gabrielle Roth in San Francisco. She always said, your soul is on the bottom of your feet. And she was all about dance and movement and consciousness. Then I went back to Europe and did more bioenergetic study, and worked as a bioenergetic therapist for a while. Worked with people using the physical body as a way of releasing pain, being in touch with your anger, being in touch with your suppressed feelings. And I really did enjoy that and did that for many years until I met homeopathy. And I always like to say homeopathy bit me on the butt and it never let me go. And I've been a homeopath for the past 37, 38 years. I really love homeopathy. I think it's a remarkable medicine that allows growth within its structure. It's transformative at the deepest possible level. And it opens us to a whole realm of truly grasping what energy is and how we can work with it. I love homeopathy. And I've recently added a few other little tools to my kit. One is FSM, frequency specific microcurrent, which is an extraordinary way to deal with pain. And always going back to the spiritual laws of forgiveness and gratitude. They are fundamental if you want to transform pain. We become so mechanized, even in our views of how we look at healing, very mechanical. The world has become more and more mechanized and more reliant on pharmaceuticals to mute the impulses. And that comes straight out of anthroposophy. I met a wonderful anthroposophical doctor many years ago named Philip Nkeo, who talked about vaccination as a process of hardening the nervous system. But I look at medication as doing the same. It hardens the nervous system. It dulls sensitivity. And without sensitivity and consciousness, you can't really transform pain. You can dull it. You can cut the nerves. You can medicate it till the consciousness is almost gone. But you don't really solve the problem of pain, which I believe is spiritual and emotional. I've seen and I've treated a lot of pain over the years. I did my thesis in homeopathic college on really severe pain. I had a suicidal patient who had had a football injury and it had a 17.5-inch Harrington rod placed in his spine and was in chronic pain. He had to stop working. He was under 40. He said he would have killed himself except for he loved his wife and he loved his kids. He was my case for my thesis. And after repertorizing the case, I came up with 3 good remedies, but I knew he would have to tell me how they worked on him. I could not be prescriptive. I said, I'm going to give you one. You're going to tell me if it works. If it doesn't, I will give you the other. We worked together and he got out of pain. It was a remarkable experience for me because I really wasn't sure. I mean, the kind of pain that chronic, acute, never ending, can't sleep at night, having to walk. When he came into the clinic, he was walking, he couldn't even sit down. And when I saw him 3 months later, he was able to sit, he was calm, he was rational. He was taking his wife to Paris because she'd really put up with quite a lot for several years with his pain. It was very, very interesting. But the final outcome was very strange. He injured himself again and was back in chronic pain in a short period of time. He had a window of, I would say, 3.5, 4 months where he was pain-free. And then he did something again, and I didn't take the case. I thought this is more psychological than accidental. I thought he would be better off in somebody else's hands because he didn't want to work. What I gathered was he just he was on disability and that suited him to some degree. And I didn't have the patience and I didn't really have the know-how to untangle that web. I don't even know if I have it now, although I've seen a lot more of that repetitive injury. I don't know. It's not the same injury. It's that something else comes up. I once heard Louise Hay say, if you don't deal with the emotional and the spiritual part of an illness, it will find another outlet. And I think that's true about pain. I've seen a lot of issues with pain, some very successful and some really not. I once had a woman who's referred by a pain specialist. When a pain specialist sends somebody to a homeopath,
that's pretty
that
pretty
says
dire.
something, doesn't it? Yeah, like ouch.
She's yours now.
Yeah. And she had a son who was a medical doctor, who was married to a medical doctor, and nobody could deal with her pain. She was from one of the Greek islands, and her husband was from Egypt. I asked her if anybody in her family had anything similar because no doctor could diagnose her pain. And she said, yes, I had an aunt who was the same. Nobody could heal her pain. And I don't think anybody will ever heal mine. And she was right. She was right. Everything I did just bounced off of her. There was absolutely no connection. And I said, this is your money and my time. And after 3 remedies, if there is no amelioration, then I suggest you see somebody else because I'm not able to see what you need. That was a long time ago. I think we all see pain as homeopaths. We see emotional pain. We see mental anguish. We see acute pains. We see chronic pain. I don't know if there's one that's better than the other. I currently have a client who's got chronic pain and has had pain for close to 25 years without any respite and has been to over 30 physicians, including the Mayo Clinic. And that's what they always say. Well, and I went to the Mayo Clinic.
Yeah.
And you're going, oh, now you're here with me, right?
Instead of try everything else, try homeopathy. Should we try everything else, try Mayo Clinic,
Yeah.
and then try homeopathy?
Well, it's interesting. It's a very interesting case. And the conclusion I've come to is that I don't know if I'm going to be able to treat his pain, his physical pain, but I see that this man was not loved. He was not loved in any way in his youth, in his adolescence. He married late in life and has a good partner. But something in me said, this isn't about a remedy. This is about being able to love somebody unconditionally for who they are and how they are. And that was a big turning point for me in my practice. I know that we have to love our clients. We may not like them. We may not like what they do or how they do things, but we have to love them. And so to love somebody unconditionally was, at a professional level, was a huge challenge for me. And what I agreed to with his case was that we would review his case every 3 months and see if we were going to continue. And every 3 months, I keep thinking he's going to drop out, but he doesn't. He doesn't. He stays in there. He does his best with the remedies. We've got some formulas like Ruta, Rust Tox, and Arnica working together, other pain combinations. I've learned a lot about pain. With COVID, there was a tremendous amount of pain for many, many people. I discovered remedies I never thought I'd use. I've used Plum Balm, which was in my pharmacy for over 30 years, never used it. And it's a mixture. It's a mixture of remedies. It's a mixture of really seeing what is going on at the deepest level. But people in pain, they want relief. They don't want you sorting their head out. They want relief from pain. Yes. It hurts. Several years ago, I had a cancer patient who was referred to me very late in her illness, and she was terminal. She had a lot of pain. She'd had a very unhappy life, a very miserable life as lives go. And when I was taking the case, I said to her, is there anything that relieves your pain? Is there anything? She said, yes. When I say the name Jesus, the pain goes away. And I thought, well, keep praying. I gave her what I thought would help. I put her on the Ramakrishna protocol, which is something I use for cancer. It's been a wonderful tool.
I like that as well. I use it too.
Yeah. I've seen many people who I never thought would make it through alive today. But she died very quickly. She died within 2 days of getting the remedy, but a very quick, painless death. Her sister called me, and I was shocked because I had just spoken to her. Her sister was with her, and she said, my sister died without pain, and whatever you gave her helped her pass quickly. And I thought there was a blessing in that. I had to accept that that was a blessing because she was so much in pain. I've also treated people who were on fentanyl and couldn't get off of it and wanted homeopathy as well. And I said, I can't treat you if you're on fentanyl. I'm sorry. It's one or the other. And they would try, but fentanyl is probably the single most addictive substance on the face of the earth. There's nothing. Synthetic opium. It gets a hold of people and they can't let go of it. So that's something I've learned, that to set a boundary in dealing with pain management.
You wouldn't use like opium or maybe fentanyl in homeopathic potency alongside to help them get off?
At the time, I didn't know about, though. This was 12, 13 years ago.
Okay.
I didn't know about homeopathic
either.
But yes, I guess now I would.
Yeah.
Good. That's good to know because it's endemic here. It's in the water supply. It's everywhere. Yes, I would certainly use it. And I would have used opium. I think I did use opium. But in the end of the day, she couldn't give up the addiction. And I had to give up the case. So sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. Let's put it this way. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. Yeah. I'm not going to say lose. You just learn.
Absolutely. Every single case you learn from.
Absolutely. So I'm looking at how I can help people who are in pain. I've come across the work of Carol McMacken, who's an osteopath here in the States, who developed the frequency-specific microcurrent, which is low doses. The TENS machine is high frequency.
Mm.
This is very, very low frequency. It's a small little machine. It's about this big. I've got about 100 settings on it. I didn't buy it for treating my clients. I bought it for myself because after COVID, I also had pain. And one of my hip abductors just froze up and it made mobility painful and slow. And it really helped. That helped. I tried many things, osteopathy for 2 years, 20 courses of acupuncture, which truly helped. And the acupuncturist had this machine. So I invested in it and I found it very, very helpful. Very helpful. So a friend of mine who's a homeopath said, "Oh, it's like homeopathy." I said, "Well, it's like homeopathy, but it gives you the microcurrent. And I do it with homeopathy." So I've seen a lot of good results with that. But with the mental and the emotional part of pain, I think the reality is guilt and shame, that they are married to pain, whether it's emotional pain or physical pain. It will eventually somatize into some form of physical pain. I try to look at that with my clients. I try to go there. I found remedies like listen, which is the most tormented of all remedies. Sometimes a good dose of listen helps people unload their pain. I had an incest case many years ago where I used listen, and all of her physical symptoms have cleared up. And eventually she was able to get some therapeutic treatment and continued with homeopathy and had a remarkable healing. I've seen a lot with remedies, a lot with psychotherapy. The older I get, the more I see the wonder of how quickly pain can be resolved in some cases. I saw a woman who was arthritic in both her hands. They were like claws. And she was so angry at her sister for not loving her in the way she wanted to be loved, and angry, really angry. And the remedy turned out to be arsenicum. I gave her a 10M and she started to get mobility, but not a fine mobility, not a fine use of her fingers. And I took it up to a 50M and she came round. It was like watching a tree turn to jello or something. I mean, her fingers were frozen, but her anger was frozen. And arsenicum has that level of anger. So I saw that. I've seen a lot of healing when you can tap into the emotional pain. But a lot of people don't want to go there. They just want the quick fix, the silver bullet. And I tell them I'm not the person you got the wrong gal. That's what I say. You got the wrong person.
I quickly want to say, Ambika, I feel like the world is starting to grasp the idea, but they haven't got it yet. And I get so
Yeah,
excited when
that's
I hear
right.
about things like microfrequency and microdosing. I feel like the world is like, oh, we need smaller doses of things, not bigger. And I can't
Less
wait
and less
for
and
them
less.
en masse to wake up. Oh, homeopathy. Oh, we get it now.
Duh.
And then one other thing I just want to mention is the remedy lysin, because there might be some people listening that might not know what it is. So that is the remedy that's made from the saliva of a rabid dog. And sometimes
Correct.
it's also called hydrophobium because one of the
Yeah.
characteristics is they develop this irrational fear of water. So hydro being water and
Yeah.
phobia being fear of. So just for the homeopath students or the newbies listening, lysin or sometimes
Yeah.
lysinum or hydrophobium, such a great remedy that we often use for children with all sorts of behavioral issues as well.
Yeah. Beautiful remedy. I
Indeed.
think all remedies have the potential to bring us the healing we need. And it's our work to find what a person needs. And it's our work to go into their psyches and find out, where are they frozen? Where are they stunted? Where are they limited in their belief system about themselves, about life, about their creator? This current client who's in such severe pain, I asked several months ago, about 5, 6 months ago, do you have a spiritual practice? He said, I hate God. I hate God for what he's done to me. He used to be the president of his church. He had a long history of being a religious man and a churchgoer. And I was pretty shocked when I heard it, but I didn't say anything. I just kept treating him. And then a few months after that, I said to him, how's your spiritual practice going? He said, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I thought, well, good. That's better than saying you hate God. So I just have to trust that my work for myself to love him unconditionally and to give the best possible remedies I know how are having some effect. And I will just continue as long as he's willing to continue with me. And I don't know any other way to put it. It's a relationship, it's a process. It takes growth, it takes commitment, it takes maturity. What I'm learning is to not judge, to look at my remedies really carefully, to differentiate my remedies. And sometimes I hit the nail on the head with him, and sometimes I don't. We're in touch Monday through Friday every day, so I know how he's doing. It's a process. That's all I can say. I can only take one of those cases in my practice at a time. I couldn't take two of them. I couldn't take four of them. I might have when I was younger, but I can't now. So to be able to devote my time and attention fully, I really keep my caseload at a minimum right now. But I also have people who have chronic emotional pain and wish that they had something physical that they could reflect on. Because when I see high levels of emotional pain and stress, the remedies tend to burn very quickly. People go through their remedies. Like, let's say you take a Nap-Mir case, which can run for 6, 8, 12 months without being repeated. If you hit the nail on the head with that, you get a long run with a good Nap-Mir case. But this chronic anguish that I see in one of my clients, she can burn through a remedy in 4 weeks, needs another tap of a remedy. And I also believe that that kind of mental anguish she has, it's habitual. It's what she grew up with. It's what she has known almost all of her life. And even though she really wants a quote normal life, it eludes her for so many reasons. And if it's not something that affects her directly, it's somebody that affects people she loves. She came to this country when she was 13, didn't speak a word of English, came from Siberia, spent a year without eating a proper meal. Her mother died in some mysterious way. Just things that work on the psyche. And when she gets she takes 1 foot forward, something happens to her grandmother or her cousin. And they're such a clan that the pain gets shared it's distributed equally among every member of the family. All I can do is just stick with it. That's the thing about pain. This isn't like giving a constitutional where somebody's going to get rid of asthma or arthritis. These chronic things, the commitment is huge. That's the thing I'm seeing. You stick with it. You do the best you can. You give them the option of bailing if they don't want to continue with, if you haven't satisfied their need. But I often think that sometimes what really is needed is to just listen and listen carefully and quietly without judgment. Keep your heart open. And sometimes, what I'm saying, sometimes every day I pray for my clients. Every day they are in my prayers because I can't do this one alone. And that's the truth of it. I can't. I bless them. I wish them well. And I hope that they overcome their attachment to pain. That's a big thing, the attachment to pain, the feeling that you don't deserve any better. Yeah. I know that there's psychological roots for everything, but somebody's really got to believe that they're worthy of a happy life. They're worthy of prosperity. They're worthy of health. And they can forgive those that have hurt them and find gratitude for their life. We did a proving today of gratitude.
Ooh.
Yes, one of my wonderful students, Rhonda Cisco, just made a remedy of gratitude, and it's stunning because in taking it, I came to realize that gratitude is very different than forgiveness. Forgiveness still has an element of hurt to it. It has an element of victimhood to it. But gratitude is, I accept that it's perfect just the way it is. And I am so thankful. So
apparently the vibration of gratitude is right up there with love, or apparently very similar to the vibration of love. So it makes sense.
I believe that too.
We have a practice in our family that every morning when we drive to school, just the 5 minutes before we get to school, there's like a particular spot in the road. When we hit that, we ask each other in the car, what are you grateful for? And so it's become such a habit now that if we have friends in the car with us, or the other day I had my clinic manager with me, when we hit that road, everyone in the car has to say what they're grateful for. And it's become such a beautiful practice. And I love that my kids now, it's something that look forward to. And some days, you know, we might have had like a little tiff in the car or whatever, and nobody feels like doing it, but we still force each other to do it. So.
No, I think it's wonderful. I think it's the best practice in the world.
Gratitude.
And this remedy now, she potentized it on the Fibonacci to a 34C. And it's lovely. It's just delicious.
I think we're going to see more of the Fibonacci, and especially the Homochords as well. I actually like the idea of I don't use the Homochords in practice in my prescriptions as much, but something like an intentional remedy like gratitude. I think it might be interesting to see how that goes in a Fibonacci Homochord. So you have all of the potencies in that one remedy.
Well, I think you get more aggravation. That's one of the things we're seeing.
Well, that's what I've started seeing with the Fibonacci. Yeah. But I was wondering with an intentional remedy if you would still have those aggravations. Really?
Yeah, still well, I don't want to call them aggravations because they're not like conventional aggravations. There's mostly emotional content that rises to the surface, something old that's stuck and needs dusting off. I call that an aggravation when somebody goes into a funk or a depression or has anger comes up. It's not physical, it's more emotional. But I made a remedy of the light body from meditation and took it to a 34X and also found that it was lovely and it clears the field. I do like Fibonacci for the intentionals. I don't know if I would use it for physical pain. I tend to be the classical homeopath in me comes to the surface with pain. I don't want to be experimenting on my clients, but I've learned a lot in the past 5 years about pain. I really have, and I've explored many remedies that I never would have thought of. Sanguinaria, one of my favorites.
Bloodroot.
Yeah. And the color remedies, yes, the color remedies have been very good. I use violet a lot because it works on the crown chakra where all those nerve ganglions meet. And so it's very good for pain.
Well, that's on my list of questions here to ask you. If there are any particular sound or color remedies that's good for physical pain and your potencies. I know you prefer the lower potencies for the colors like 30C.
Yeah, 30C and under. Yes, I use violet and I use B. The note B is the equivalent of the crown chakra. Okay. Yes, they're helpful. I can't say that they probably need to be repeated more than a regular 200 or 1M, but they help with pain and they help anything that gives people some level of comfort. Really, nobody likes to be in pain. And I think personally, I think pain is very bad for the body. It's bad for the heart. The heart does not like pain. And I do understand people's desire to patch pain with a narcotic, or I understand it, but it doesn't work. It slows everything down in the body. The body can't even heal when it's drugged like that.
Do you reckon any of the sound or color remedies could work as what I call water bottle remedies? So I sometimes do this with tissue salts, and I'll just get a client to put 2 pills in a water bottle, shake it, and then just sip on it throughout the day. Anything's going to be better than being on an opioid. Yeah.
Anything is better because they're so addictive. They're soul destroying. The bottom line about the opiates is they are soul destroying. All you have to do is look at history, look at China during the opium wars, look at people who have become addicted to the opioids. They are lost. There are many where I live. I'm 50 miles from the Mexican border, and our parks now are filled with the homeless, and there's certain sections of the park where nobody goes because that's where they sell the fentanyl. And even the police don't touch it. The police found out that if you actually touched fentanyl, you could become addicted to it. So it's a horrible
this
problem.
Is where I am a big fan of like getting one of those agricultural spray planes and then putting some fentanyl and potency or opium and potency in the plane and like spraying it over those homeless areas.
Hopefully, you have to consider the level of pain you'd have to be in to do that.
Yeah.
Feeling completely lost, despair beyond anything we know, and hopeless without purpose. And it's again, all I can do is pray for them every day, that they find purpose and they find shelter. But there's a lot of it where I live here down in Tucson. And I think there's a lot of it everywhere, quite frankly. I don't think there's any place, at least in this country, that is spared. But I would like to find ways to help in any way that I can. And I guess that's the thing about pain, is it draws people to it to help release it. It draws the homeopaths, the acupuncturists, the osteopaths, the chiropractors. These are people dealing with pain all the time. And I think you can go so far with some of them, especially the ones that work on the physical body, but eventually you've got to get into the energetic body. You've got to be able to turn someone's belief about themselves around, release the guilt, release the shame, release the abuse. Recently, I had an abuse case of a young gal, and I said to her, it's not the physical act of abuse. It's the fact that somebody has taken your power. Somebody has taken something of you that was not theirs to take. And you need to find a way to claim it back. Because when you've claimed your power back, you are released of the shame and the guilt. You find your freedom. If you make it about the physical act, you will never find relief. But if you take it from the point that somebody has manipulated you, taken something that is yours, your soul is yours. It doesn't belong to anybody else. And you can't give it to anybody else, even if you wanted to. And I hope she understood it. It freed her up. And we'll see. I mean, there's great remedies like Saphis Sagria. We have wonderful remedies in homeopathy. Wonderful remedies. Carcinosin, Nat Muir, the remedies that can touch the soul, the Aurum salts. I love these remedies.
Ambika, I was just going to say that I think as practitioners, it's really important that when we're working with pain, that we have maybe some sort of scale or some sort of form of measuring where a client's pain is at when they start with us, and then remind them of that as we go on and check in with them. Because as you start becoming freed of pain, and because of the way that homeopathy works so gently, often you forget how much pain you were in unless you are reminded.
No, I agree with you.
And
Robin Murphy used to do that. That was
I think
Robin
that's
Murphy taught that.
important. And then also, even your client, the words that they use, the one that said, I can just imagine this type of client goes, no, I've had no improvement in my case. And then you go, okay, well, last time you told me you hate God, and now you're telling me that you're starting to work on your spiritual practice. So actually, there has been healing. And people often don't relate it to the remedy that you've given them. So I think having a scale or having some sort of benchmark of where your pain is at for us as a practitioner when it comes to managing that case is really important.
Well, I agree that people need to be reminded that it may not be 100%. I think that's something that I always think, that they think that there's a silver bullet or a remedy or a pill or a needle that's going to eliminate all their pain.
Well,
It's
you
like,
know why?
really?
It's because the cases that you read are presented at conferences of like, I gave this remedy and it healed everything. And so people hear about that, and that's what they expect is going to happen every single time they come in your clinic.
I once heard Rajan Sankaran say to a woman, do you want me to heal you now, or can you wait for half an hour? I was a student in England. I mean, my mouth dropped. I thought, is he kidding? No, he wasn't kidding. That's how proficient he was at what he did. But I'll tell you something that shocked me beyond belief. Was that really possible? But I do see, like the woman I told you about, the arsenic case with the hands, it was very quick. It was very quick. It was almost instantaneous. But then there are others where it's not quick, where it's one step forward, 3 steps back, 1 step forward, turn to the side, turn around, move forward. It's a discovery. It's a process. It takes time and patience and a lot of love and a lot of maturity not to throw the towel in. I agree. A form of measurement is good, but sometimes they don't remember where they were. They don't, and they don't want to remember. They want you to fix it and fix it now. And what I have to say is, I'm sorry, there is no quick fix. This is something that's been years in the making, and it will go at its own pace. And what I say to people is, you can increase the pace of healing by doing the spiritual work of forgiveness and finding gratitude and communing with your creator. That helps. It helps beyond any measure. It's nothing we're taught in school. It's nothing. I once had a teacher that says, do not ever pray with your clients, ever. She said, that is not homeopathy. I don't pray with my clients, but I do pray for them. And that feels important to me. It reminds me that I have a commitment to do the best I can for these people. And I may not get it right, but I think some of the times I can do a good job. That's the thing about pain. It'll leave you thinking, God, did I do anything? You did something by just being there and listening to somebody, just being there and paying attention to somebody's sorrow and somebody's pain. Yeah, I was telling somebody the other day, the first cure I ever had, I was a student, and this woman had just unbearable menstrual cramps and just unbearable, just like she could go to the emergency room with pain. And I took the case, took it for supervision. My supervisor worked me hard, gave her the remedy, and she was free. She said, what is this? And I said, this is homeopathy. And I remember going away saying, God, this really works.
I just really want to make sure that we get a bit more information from you on the light body remedy, because you touched on that. And then I'm like, wait, what? So can you tell us? Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? As in all of it, like what would you use it for? Where can we get it?
Everything.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I've been doing a book for the past year on the chakras. It's my 9th and final book on the chakras, and it's putting together everything that I know about healing the chakras, including the homeopathic color and sound remedies. As I was saying, about 6 weeks ago, I was awakened at 3 a.m, and I heard this voice say, it's not the chakras, it's the light body. And with the light body, of course it's the light body. The light body ignites the chakras. Duh. I went around my house for 24 hours after that going, oh my God, it's the light body. It's the light body. I had to start to rewrite the book, but I also wanted to capture the light body as best I could through meditation. I'll tell you a story of something that happened to me many years ago that gave me an awareness of the light body. I was at an Alexander Technique school up in the north of England, in Kendal and the Lakes. And there was I don't remember her name, but this wonderful healer was working on me, and I was lying down and she was working on my field. And she said, my eyes were closed. She said, be quiet, everybody, just be quiet. There was silence in the room. And all of a sudden I could feel this energy coming out from between my solar plexus and my heart, just filling the space and expanding. And then suddenly somebody slammed a door and everything went back in. But I had this amazing experience of the light body, that it was something that I could actually expand in meditation. So I made a remedy. I was a consummate meditator. And so one morning I just took my little bottle of Everclear alcohol and just held it up to my this space between the solar plexus and the heart chakra, and held it for, I don't know how long I was in meditation for. And then I potentized it to a 34X, which is the Fibonacci, and made a homeochord out of it. And I teach a class called the Illumination Remedy class, in which we are all creating new intentional remedies, and we're proving one another's remedies. And some of the gals had beautiful experiences, and others had less beautiful, but very informative provings. So I got to see that there was something in it. The thing of it is when it's in the realm of the imponderables and you can't see it, you're not really sure when you do it on yourself. You need feedback. You need somebody to say, yeah, this kicked my butt. This was a beautiful remedy. One woman said she took it and she actually saw her light body. I thought, well, then I'm on the right track. So I've got it in a 34C. I'm 34X. I would not take it any higher, but it is a remedy. I will have it up on the website probably in the next couple of months. I'd like to have everything completed, have the book completed. It's called Healing the Light Body, Igniting the Chakras, because that's really what it is. The chakras, they dissolve 3 days after death. The chakras are gone. They don't go to heaven with you. The light body is your eternal body that doesn't die, is not born. That's what they say in India. It has no time, no form, but it is an essence from each one of us. It's where the divine lives in us. And it is a field that can be tapped into. That I've seen. And I saw that in this class 2 weeks ago. There was a lot of good feedback on it. If anybody's interested in that class, it's the Illumination Remedies class, and it's on my website, lifeenergymedicine.com. And hopefully the book will be out by the end of the holidays. I hope that book is out. And if anybody has any information they wish to share on it, I'd certainly welcome that. But my feeling is, this is my personal experience. If we have pain, we can meditate, go into the light body and ask for healing and send healing to that place. If it's in our physical body, often after a workout, my lower back gets tight. Send energy to the lower back. It gets released. Send energy to my emotional body, which sometimes trips up on itself just because of who I am. And I send light there, and the path in front of me gets smoothed out into my egoic body, which is where the soul is. It's really helped me release some very old, sticky karma from lifetimes past, I'm sure. The light body is your answer. It's yours. It comes from the Creator. And if you have pain, whatever kind of pain it is, emotional, mental, physical, you can go into the light body and ask that energy be directed where it needs to go to free you from pain. Nobody should be in pain. There is enough pain in this world, as you pointed out, enough pain without contributing to that pool of dissonance and disharmony and misfortune. There's enough of that. Our job is really to release pain in the ways we know how, in the best ways we know how. So I keep working with energy and making remedies, and you keep sending this wonderful podcast out to the world. I love what you do. So many people really love you and love what you do. It's a huge gift. You have no idea. You're teaching people so much about new remedies. I got a new client who told me about strep tilch, and she said, get on to Jenny's podcast at number 200 and something, and they'll hear all about it. And I thought, oh, that's fantastic. You like starting your own little university with a multitude of teachers. I love what you're doing, and I congratulate you.
I have to tell you, the best part of all of that was actually 2 weeks ago when I was in Bali for the Unleashing Homeopathy conference that I organized with 3 other colleagues. I got to meet Andreas Tilch in person, and I tell you what, his energy, oh my word, you would just want to sit there and bathe in it. He's just such an incredible human being, and he did this beautiful soul's love meditation with all of us, and everyone was in tears, and it was just beautiful. So yeah, he's a very special man.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah. Think about bringing that work to Europe and then to America. Think about it, if you can.
Well, he's from Europe, so he's from Germany. Yeah.
Right. We'd welcome you here. I'm telling you, definitely you'd be welcome here.
Oh, don't say that too loud, because my husband keeps joking about wanting to move to America. And I'm like, no, we just finally settle somewhere.
Visit. Just come and visit.
Yeah, definitely do some visits. Ambika, lifeenergymedicine.com is the place for people to get hold of your work. There's several books. We haven't even talked about your beautiful angel cards, because you're also an incredible artist as well. And there's the intentional remedy courses and the divine feminine courses, and there's all sorts of incredible things. And whenever I see somebody like yourself with such a huge knowledge base and so many decades of experience, when you actually take the effort and the work, and I know it's very hard work producing all this content, but when you take the time to do that and put that out there for the rest of us to benefit from, I really appreciate that, because if we can take somebody who's done all that work and just learn from that so that we can amplify the amount of healing that we can do in the world, it's brilliant. So thank you for taking the time to put that out there for us to enjoy. And for everyone on here, lifeenergymedicine.com is where you'll find all the info.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be on your show, and I wish everybody out there who listens real healing and healing from pain. Healing from pain.
Thank you so
God
much,
bless.
Ambika.
Thank you.